On today's video, we are talking about how your writing instrument can affect the way that your ballot is recorded. That will be in the Think Like a Lawyer section of this video. But first, we're going to address some misinformation that's being thrown about there about Michigan's proposals 1, 2, and 3. Hello, everyone. My name is Joseph Radzwion IV, your trusted attorney with Radzwion Law, PLLC, and that's what we are talking about here today. Proposal 1 is essentially what I've called the say no to career politicians. The misinformation is that it's made up to sound like if Proposal 1 were to pass, that term limits would be imposed and politicians will have to report their assets and public finances and all this other stuff. First off, there are already laws in place that you can obtain some of that information. Number two would be is that Proposal 1, if passed, is going to extend the amount of time that politicians can remain in office. If you do not think politicians should be in office for any longer than they have to be because you're worried about them doing backdoor deals or doing dirty deals with corporations or other politicians, voting no on 1 would be a good idea. This will limit the amount of time they have to come up with those types of things. Proposal 2 would be what I call the say no to the fox watching the hen house. What do I mean by this? Well, right now, the Secretary of State is the one that is in charge of running and giving guidance to and making sure that the voting, that the clerks have everything they need to collect the votes and run the elections. If Proposal 2 were to pass, the Secretary of State would be the one that would be in charge of doing any sort of investigation as to whether they themselves or the clerks that they oversee mess up anything in the election or the voting process. So essentially you have, why would the Secretary of State investigate itself? If Proposal 2 were to pass, that's who would have to do the investigation. They'd have to investigate themselves and their own misconduct, and I just don't foresee that happening. So I would say vote no on Proposal 2 if you are worried about the fox watching the hen house. Number 3 is vote no if you think doctors should be held accountable for their negligence or their mishaps during procedures. See, Proposal 3 is often touted as, well, it's a women's right to choose. It's for abortion, all that kind of stuff. And really, Proposal 3 is pork-bellied and it's stuffed with a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of other sections of the law or the changes they want to make to the law, just like the other 2 proposals. Proposal 3 has in there that a doctor who messes up a surgery or an abortion cannot be held legally responsible. They can't be sued for negligence or injury or even death, which is a problem. Doctors should be able to be held accountable for anything that they mess up, just like the rest of us. Proposal 3 also allows children to undergo gender reassignment surgery without parental consent. Now, these are the same children that by law and society have already deemed cannot vote because they cannot make rational decisions, cannot drive a car, cannot join the military, and cannot drink alcohol until they've reached a certain age based on their understanding of society and making informed, rational decisions. But Proposal 3 would allow them to essentially, without parental consent, make a life-altering decision that has sometimes permanent consequences. So I would say if you're against these 2 things, then I would say to vote no on Proposal 3. And that's pretty much the misinformation that's being thrown around there on these 3 proposals. Now, for your Think Like a Lawyer tip, when you show up to the voting poll, before you even get there, you should be bringing a blue or black inked pen to use on your ballot. Sharpies and markers or felt tip pens that are provided by the poll workers, excuse me, are not often reliable. They can bleed through the ballots. They can mess up. They can be skipped over in the counting machine. So make sure you have that blue or black ink pen with you before you go to the poll. The second think like a lawyer tip would be is that you should make sure when you're bubbling in or filling in the boxes or bubbles of the ballot, you do so thoroughly and fill them in completely. Don't make marks outside of the bubble. They won't be counted. They can be contested, all that kind of stuff. I do have a diagram of what I'm talking about on the blog page, radzwionlaw.com/blog, if you're interested in looking at that. And I also have the next one, which is don't overvote. I have a chart for that one as well. Don't overvote means if it says in that section, don't vote for more than 2 or only vote no more than 2 or something like that. You want to make sure that you're only voting for that number or less. If you vote for more than that number, the machine will not count that excess vote. That person won't be counted for you. If you mess up and you vote for 3, whatever, you should inform a poll worker, hey, I overvoted. What do you want me to do or what can I do? Leave that up to them to decide. They should be either giving you a new ballot or telling you how to correct whatever that is on the ballot there. So those are your Think Like a Lawyer tips for today. I hope this video finds you well. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate all your guys' comments. Stay safe out there and we'll see you next time.